Welcome to Theory Underground. I'm your host, David McKerracher, and we are joined again.
I am McKerracher.
Now we're back.
We're back.
Part 2. Same drive.
Yeah. A few hours later.
More rain.
Food in our bellies.
Chinese.
Coffee
Very
in
good.
our bellies.
Nicest baristas I've ever met.
Yeah, for real.
They cared about us.
They cared. They were so curious to know like where we were going, what we were doing in Vancouver.
Asking all these questions about Coeur d'Alene.
Made just a solid, like $7 latte, oat milk latte. Best $7 Dave's ever spent on me. What did you have? A dirty London fog.
A dirty London fog. I don't normally go for frou-frou drinks, first of all. I am offended that the cost of 2 drinks from a coffee shop was about as much as my actual teriyaki chicken, which was fantastic. Anyway, okay, with all that said, enough with our urban dink foodie habits. So we're back, and we're going to dive straight into chapter 1 of
Homestead Tsunami.
And then we'll say a little bit more about those things that we teased in part 1.
Yeah.
About some of the stuff we got cooking, including how it went at the retreat and other significant news items. Like, for instance, probably one of the craziest, most surreal emails we ever received with a donation and epic piece from an anonymous collective. Anyway,
for our second volume of Underground Theory, we're now working on Underground Theory Volume 3. There are updates to give you, our dear listeners.
Really cool stuff. But with that, let's do a bit of this book.
Get grounded in some text while we've still got some daylight. I didn't even realize that's another good reason to read right now, because the sun's gonna set any minute.
Just turning, you can rock the light.
True.
It won't distract me.
Cool. Okay. So we read the preface of this book by Joel Salatin, Homestead Tsunami. And he's writing this book with kind of the audience, 3 particular groups of people in mind. People who are kind of thinking about, really strongly considering whether or not they want to jump into the homestead life. The people who have already jumped in and are maybe feeling discouraged, like it's not cracking up to what they thought it would be. And then the people who are like, is homesteading even really necessary? Why is anyone worried? We just happily live in our cities for the rest of time and everything will be fine. That's his audience for this book.
And I'm very interested to see the direction that he takes this, because I think that my entire approach is fundamentally different than my parents'. We have similar interests, but different reasons for why we come to them. And so I'm interested in what's his approach for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it collapse is imminent? You wanna be safe in case Schumer hits the fan, or is it what is it with Joel?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a little bit more quality of life, having a hand in the process. But let's find out, and we'll react as we go.
Right? Yeah, I'm interested. Joel Salatin's awesome, and this is the first I've really ever read of him. He's got a lot of books. Your mom owns most of them. Let's do it. Okay, chapter 1. Get in the game. When store shelves emptied during the spring of 2020, when the COVID black swan enveloped the world, did you panic or yawn? At our farm, we yawned while most people panicked. That's not said pridefully, it's simply a statement of fact. Several hundred jars of canned produce filled our basement pantry shelves. Well-stocked freezers full of meat and poultry promised delicious, nutritious meals for months. Bulk flour, stores of maple syrup and honey, along with a neighbor's raw milk, assured us a future of thriving, not just surviving. For decades, America, more than any other country in the world, offered a false promise that we could abandon historical participation in the foundations of life, somehow freeing us to do more important things. We would be free to spend more time keeping up with the celebrity culture, going to movies, attending football games, and visiting vineyards. We could go on cruises, shop in Paris, play more golf, and hit the slopes routinely. The ultimate freedom? Time to play more video games. Liberated from life's chores and drudgeries, we could really live. No more weeds to pull, no more cows to milk, no more hay to make, no more eggs to gather, no more tomatoes to plant, trellis and water, no more meals to cook, no more canning to toil over in a hot kitchen, no more firewood to cut, no more larder to inventory and stock. We would all sail off into some sort of blissful Star Trek nirvana, eating laboratory concoctions, popping pills, and wearing spandex instead of Carhartts. We could unmoor from domestic drudgeries and escape into artificial intelligence, leaving our mundane lives free to pursue exotic activities. I'm instantly captured by these first few paragraphs, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Iconic radio commentator Paul Harvey differentiated between two types of freedom: the freedom to do what we want and the freedom to do what we ought. He likened the freedom to do whatever our whimsical desires wanted to a driverless car and a train without a track. They're free, but not in any sense that is functional. What does freedom do what we ought look like? It looks a lot like participating in life's most basic foundations. Over the last couple of generations, the hard-scrabble American life, centered around home and hearth, has been replaced with convenience. We've contracted out the cornerstones of life to others, assuming newfound freedom would bring us to better places, viewing domestic chores and basic life immersion as unnecessary slavery. As a culture, we embraced TV dinners, cardboard tomatoes shipped across the country, Hot Pockets, and Lunchables. In the name of convenience and liberation, we enslaved ourselves to a host of dependencies. We abandoned the one-room school with complete local control to a federal bureaucracy, quickly driving our nation downward in academic competency. If you look at what 8th graders in Laura Ingalls Wilder's one-room schoolhouse needed to know, you'll see how far education has dropped. I have trouble with these tests, and I have a college education. The historic in-home and locally sourced entertainment and recreation model is now an outsourced video game conceived by nameless, faceless people a world away in both location and values. Instead of neighbors and friends getting together for a spelling bee, poetry sharing, or mock political debate, where everyone brings something, we sequester on our screens with someone else's imagination. Instead of a creativity potluck, we cater in entertainment, allowing us to slay virtual bad guys with violent weaponry in a virtual world. For many, we spend more time in a world that doesn't exist than the one that does. Is that healthy? Instead of investing our money in local businesses and developing community-based entrepreneurship, we invest in BlackRock and massive global holding companies that use children to mine lithium. All to power our electric vehicles. Consider the care and attention our forebears put into the livery, keeping the horse fed. Livery. Into the livery, keeping the horse fed, shod, and groomed. The early automobiles built in backyard mechanic shops could be maintained by anyone with a mechanical bent. Today, we need a multi-million-dollar computer interface just to diagnose a problem, which is often some malfunctioning computer microchip sensor. Rather than the neighborhood doctor who would often take a sack of potatoes as payment for a house call, we go to government-sanctioned hospitals that won't let patients take vitamin C supplements. Who wants to get tangled up in the medical system? How many of us lost parents during COVID, dying alone in hospitals and assisted living facilities? Probably more from feeling abandoned than from any physical malady. I mean, you even take this and add, like, you know, the midwife just used to be the woman from your church who would just trade you, you know, whatever your service was, and she'd deliver your baby pretty safely and sanitarily. And now it's like this whole, you know, $1,000 hospital visit that you just, oh, my water broke, time to go to the hospital.
Where you're worried about being insured for the one-off thing that'll cost $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. One-off thing being like
Your baby
so
ends up in the NICU.
extremely rare. Yeah.
When the healthcare system gets its tentacles into your condition, your options become tormented by the clutches of a practically incapable paradigm. The informed consent movement is a parallel tsunami to the homestead tsunami. They spring from a common root: loss of personal autonomy to make fundamentally intimate choices. As a nation, we've abandoned Judeo-Christian moorings. Church attendance is at an all-time low, giving us more time to watch weekend sports, view pornography, smoke dope, seek exotic spiritual voyeurism, and a host of other miscreant activities. We took down the 10 Commandments from our schoolrooms and now wonder why we have school shootings. When I was in high school, the student parking lot was full of vehicles with guns. Lots of students went hunting for a couple of hours after they got out of school. Nobody thought they were dangerous. We had prayer and posted the 10 Commandments in classroom. Corporal punishment taught us early on that some behavior is okay and other is not. We called sin, sin, and evil, evil. Could it be that we traded the 10 Commandments for metal detectors and school security officers and fear? Freeing us from those historical moorings brought us to a new non-freedom. Morality is now completely relative, no absolutes. Freed from biological constraints, our children suffer sexual dystopia, suicide, and self-hate. That sounds like a bad trade. The spiritual hole in the human heart must be filled with something. If it's not filled with truth, it'll be filled with untruth and nonsense.
I think one of the things he's missing here in his, like, do we trade the 10 Commandments for metal detectors? Is like, it's like there's a bunch of other steps. It's like the metal detectors are after like 20 steps. So it's like, it's not that we traded the 10 Commandments. Okay. The liberal arts canon, including Euclid and Plato and Aristotle and Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, as well as, you know, the founding fathers and, you know, the actual founders of liberalism, but also Augustine and Aquinas. And like, so, you know, and of course that's more of a philosophy approach to the canon. Dante, Shakespeare, Homer, Virgil, missing. And then we assume people are too stupid to develop the cultural literacy to be able to time travel into different vernaculars, different dialects, and to be able to actually orient themselves in the interpretation of texts. And then in that sense, it's not just the 10 Commandments, Scripture itself. And so Scripture also itself is not something that stands on its own. It actually only makes sense in reference to the canon within which and out of which it was born. And that's one of the things that, you know, a certain kind of Christian is not going to be super receptive to. But, you know, the Bible develops the context of a Hellenistic world. If you don't know about that, you don't even know what it's responding to. You can't compare and contrast. You can't contextualize. You can't situate. And so, yeah, you don't have the ability to interpret it. And it's, you know, the question of interpretation and the variegated senses of belief, like all of this stuff is just completely like missing on these people. And I suspect Joel has a deeper sense for these things, and that this is a rhetorical register where he's really just trying to, you know, speak to normie homesteaders who just want to go back to the basics. But it's like, okay, you know, I don't think we need to just go back to the basics. I think we need to go back to the liberal arts canon and not leave behind deconstruction and philosophy and theory along the way. So I kind of want to say that first. Second of all, the many steps before the metal detectors don't just include the genocide of historical voice and our ability to develop our voices within that context and actually know our world. It also includes basically demonizing boys with a streak for natural leadership. In an attempt to do DEI, there is this shift towards kind of trying to hold back boys. We want girls to be able to catch up, so we gotta hold back boys. And it's just like, look, I'm all for a girl who can be a great leader or whatever, but like the idea that every girl's gonna want to be a leader is insane. Most aren't. And in the meantime, the belittling of guys who have a streak for leadership, and then the separation of them from the roots that they could have in culture that leaves them with nothing but sports, that itself is an absolute abomination.
Bro.
And then, of course, crazy driver. But then, you inevitably get these people who, within the context of all of that, end up shooting places up. And so, it's like, that's leaving out all of the other things like the phone, the social media, the ritual hazing of the schooling system.
The parents who don't have the time and energy to be with them, when notice signs, the therapism of just, oh, you're suffering, or rather than therapy. Well, therapism, but then also like psychiatry culture.
Right.
Oh, you're suffering. Oh, you're struggling. Here, just take a drug. That'll fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's absolutely right, and I'm so appreciative that he's talking about this like spiritual lacking, but for him, and like you said, maybe this is just a rhetorical, he's leaving out everything, because I think, he is more sophisticated. He did go to, he went to college. He writes, he's a writer. So obviously he has some appreciation for the arts and humanities.
I think he just knows who he's talking to.
Right. But there are people in our lives who is just, for them, it's just like, it's because we lost God. It's because no one reads the Bible. And it's like, well, maybe that's part of it. But it's just the total loss of the arts and humanities and the liberal arts and this historical, beautiful culture that leads to this spiritual lack that he's getting at. But for some people, the spiritual lack just comes down to Jesus.
Yeah, and this people just don't read their Bible usually comes from these evangelical Protestants who think that their solo DIY interpretations, the Spirit guides me, and therefore I understand this text as much as I need to. Approach to reading is totally missing how to actually read. And so it's like, they're like, oh, no one reads their Bible, and then they're reading their Bible, and they're not really reading their Bible because they don't really know how to read because they're functionally illiterate. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that said, and whether and hey, even if Joel's just like, no, it really is this simple. Cool, whatever, man. That's fine.
He's raising a serious point that does not get talked about nearly enough.
And hey, he leaves all of this for us to do.
Hey, exactly. Cool. Okay. The spiritual hole in the human heart must be filled with something. If it's not filled with truth, it'll be filled with untruth and nonsense. Some may call this the purpose hole. Call it what you will, but something about gathering eggs, milking a cow, and snapping green beans fills that hole with meaningfulness. With all this going on, however, nothing indicates the dramatic societal shift as much as where we live and how we live, physically on the landscape. Why plant a garden when we can go to Kroger? Why know a farmer when Costco is around the corner? Why run a freezer when takeout is an Uber Eats away? Cooking from scratch is now opening a can, pouring it in a microwavable dish, and nuking it for a few minutes. Voila, dinner is served. More households don't know what to do with a whole chicken. Butter and a squash? What's that? Squash is supposed to be in a can. All of this sounds progressive, cool, modern, and liberating until some unexpected crisis like COVID hits the culture. When the supermarket shelves go bare and people realize that cities only have 3 days worth of food in warehouses, this carefree, liberated, non-participating existence suddenly becomes valuable and fragile. The Chinese have a saying, plenty of food, many problems.
Do you say valuable?
Vulnerable. I
Okay.
probably did.
Yeah. Okay.
Non-participating existence suddenly becomes vulnerable and fragile. Thank you. The Chinese have a saying, plenty of food, many problems. No food, one problem. As America...
Okay.
I
Great.
like that.
Yeah.
As America, and indeed the world, convulsed with supply chain issues, people panicked. Disruptions were real and catastrophic. Industries exterminated millions of chickens and turkeys because the mega processing facilities, employing thousands of people apiece, stumbled and faltered. Having 5,000 people working in cool, dark, damp conditions with lots of blood and guts is not a healthy environment in the best of times, let alone when a roving sickness spreads across the land. Raising animals only to throw them away in landfills and incinerators epitomizes a system enslaved to a rigid, non-adaptive paradigm. I didn't know that happened. I actually would have cried. Like, that is horrific. Vegan or not, whatever, it's like, we raised all these animals and just to, like, literally kill them and throw their carcasses away without them at least being used to feed people. That's, that,
Just
like...
Waste.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's insane.
Well, it's like, I mean, the worst to me is like the pig that doesn't ever get to move, but like every form of factory farming that removes the animal from its purpose is torture.
Yeah.
Is literal torture, and the people responsible for it should have, they should have to see some kind of justice.
They should have to go work it for a month.
No, I think
there.
that they shouldn't be allowed freedom.
I like that even better.
I'm not saying prison, but I'm saying that they shouldn't ever have their freedom again. Or at least, like, it would be a long track to freedom. Like, I'm pretty brutal, and that's why no one should ever, like, try to vest any kind of political power in me, because, I wouldn't go full crazy on I would want to see
injustice.
I would want to see really, really serious repercussions for the people who are responsible behind these kinds of things. And that's, according to someone like Benjamin Studebaker, going to be a right-wing thing for me. He considers that to be right-wing. Holding people accountable, responsibility. This is inherently right-wing. The only genuine left position to him, which is also, by the way, the same thing as saying good, would be to, change the system so that people don't have to make these bad decisions. And it's just like, the system is not this thing that exists outside of human beings.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I even if I don't believe those people are fully capable of making decisions in a void or whatever, it doesn't really change the fact that the society that we live in and the decisions that people are going to make are going to be somewhat informed by the consequences that they have to weigh. And it's like, if no one who makes decisions to treat animals this way ever sees consequences, then,
they're just going to keep
people will just keep doing it. And so it's not about like, oh, this person's responsible for all the world's problems, but it's like, yeah, but also you all got rich, poisoning us, killing us, and torturing creatures. And so no, you and these government bureaus that subsidize you need to have your situation change, and you need to be made an example of. Yeah, but that's why don't give me political power. This is fantasy football for politics. I'm just fantasizing, guys. Anyway.
But yeah, the fact that this just shows the brokenness of the system. Is that like these poor, tortured, abused animals, like at least they were like people were able to eat them and get some sense of caloric intake. But come COVID, it's like, oh, burn them, kill them, throw them away. It's like, oh, so they were being tortured and abused for literally nothing. Just like that is, I didn't know that happened, and that's what he's getting at. Is like our food system is so inherently broken that a pandemic like that is gonna just mass. What's the word I want to use? Destroy or slaughter animals.
Yeah, any backup in the supply chain results in these catastrophic losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just people. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, I guess I bridged into talking about the waste of life across the board, but
for sure.
No, yeah, we're talking about backups in supply chains. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it back on track here. Yeah.
Administrators, human resources departments, insurance companies, and attorneys devoted untold time and attention to new distancing, quarantine, and medical protocols. Whole sectors in these plants suddenly shut down, making them unable to take the animals scheduled for processing. When Americans saw empty store shelves, the industry exterminated the animals because it couldn't get them processed. Notice I'm using the term exterminate, not euthanize, which is the word preferred by the industry and politicos. Yeah, exterminate. For the uninitiated, euthanized is a euphemism for killing and throwing away. In the poultry industry, the most common way to kill a whole 15,000 bird factory house is foaming. They shut all the windows and doors, pumping in soap bubbles until all the birds suffocate.
Oh my gosh.
While this sounds horrible and tragic, imagine if you were tasked with killing 15,000 turkeys in a Tyson factory house. Would you do it? The word euthanize generally means mercy killing, or putting an animal out of its misery. Since these were not sick animals, the proper word is exterminate. In some cases, farmers simply turned off the confinement factory house ventilator systems and let the animals slowly suffocate or succumb to heat exhaustion.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez Louise! This is horrible. Farmers didn't get paid for those animals. The company owns the animals. Farmers bought the lie that if they signed a contract with the industry to grow the birds, the industry would handle feed, hatching, processing, and marketing. Traditional areas where poultry farmers had participated in the process. Subtherapeutic antibiotics enabled thousands of animals to be crammed into these industrial spaces, freeing farmers from weather, predation, and meticulous management. Free to grow millions of birds in confinement, farmers didn't have to hatch, own, process, or market them. But they got to watch as the exterminators came to foam their birds. See the irony here? As these massive, centralized companies struggled to keep their doors open, smaller counterparts continued to function almost without interruption. The question is this: if instead of 300 centralized industrial mega processing facilities funneling America's foods to supermarkets, what if we had 300,000 community-based facilities processing the animals and vegetables for American families? Would the catastrophic disruptions we saw in the food system have been as severe? The answer is obvious. And what if, like in our house, nearly all Americans had a stash of food in their home larder? Until extremely recent times, the larder was where a household stored its off-season food. Is a larder just like a basement or a storage?
I think it's just a pantry.
Oh.
I think that this is just like a Virginian word for pantry.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, contextually, it's like somewhere where food is being stored.
Yeah.
Yeah, until extremely recent times, the larder was where a household stored its off-season food. Before supermarkets, all that food was stockpiled in the domestic larder. At exactly the moment when people feared COVID, the added stress of having nothing to eat further depressed their immune systems. The single biggest immune system depressant is stress. If for no other reason than to eliminate that stress factor in the future, people need to reinstitute the domestic larder, ideally sourced from known provenance. When the specter of catastrophe looms, knowing you have several weeks or months of sustenance stored can allay a lot of fear and keep your immune system functioning on all cylinders. That's a good point. It's just the stress of, oh my gosh, everything, like, we're not okay. Even if you do end up being fine, the stress, wow.
Yeah, like, you know, I just talked to someone in the Midwest who was stocking up in preparation for the ice storm. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you should be unfazed by any of that stuff. Like, you should just be living your life in such a way so as to be completely unfazed. You're like, yeah, we're good for like a month, so no, we don't need to stock up on anything.
Right. Yeah. Of course, you can buy prepper rations, but that's like an IV for trauma. You don't want to live on prepper rations. You want to live on things you're used to eating as much as possible. While you can survive on an IV, no one wants to live long-term on an IV.
Like fresh eggs and sausage is something that they have for breakfast there that I got to have when I was there. And it was like, yeah, this is solid. But then guess what? Like, his favorite food that comes off their farm is their chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, yeah, that's not some lame Marie calendars or whatever from the...
Yeah. Like, imagine it's COVID and people are like, the only thing available is some dry rice and ramen packs. And Joel Salatin and his family are eating healthy, homemade chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
We should make some chicken pot pie.
Now that's first of all, yes. Second of all, that is the product of the labor. But then, so, you know, we're talking about unalienated labor is what he's what he's able to enjoy. I just did the Intro to Marx lecture and I was saying, you know, I'm against political Marxism, but the baby in the bathwater is like, you have to understand what unalienated labor actually is, right? And of course I focused on alienated labor, estranged labor. And it's just like, you know, it's when you're working for somebody else and you don't actually know anything about the process and you're not getting paid very much, like, you are removed from the product of the labor. You don't get to have that thing that you're making. You're removed from the knowledge that goes into the production of that product. You're also removed from your essence as a human being, which is to be a creator, which is to understand the world, which is to be a participant in culture. And then you're removed from like the other people in your world for the division of labor. Like, you're actually like this atomized little competitive, economic rational unit. All of that is not the lifestyle he gets to live. Like the Salatin family or any other family that really has a hand in the process. I keep going back to that term. He calls it participation. I don't like to use that term because for me it has other connotations, thanks to Levi Brule, the anthropologist, and the way that Levinas is engaging with him. I just say a hand in the process, and it's what he means by participation, which is to say you understand these foundations of life, and you are a custodian of them, a steward of them, and it's not like you're just like living out here not understanding how anything works. Oh, water comes from tap, meat comes from store.
Yeah.
Gelatin comes from unicorn farts.
Yeah.
No, that's not where it comes from. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want all you listeners to know, and you to know, Dave, that our son is here. He's poking around. He's kicking my belly.
Time. This is the first time he's ever interjected himself into an episode.
Yeah, he's listening. He's down. He's a Salatin head.
I'm gonna give him some knuckles here.
Fist bump. Yeah. I could talk about that later, how surreal that feeling is. But for now,
We'll talk about foundations of life. This is, when people act like, oh, well, that's for other people. It's like, okay, so making bread is for other people. Growing food is for other people. Making chicken pot pies is for other people. Pulling weeds is for other people.
building houses or structures is for other people.
Having babies is for other people.
Yeah.
Raising children is for other people. Educating children is for other people.
Yeah.
Wait a second. So what's for you? What do you do? Oh, you're a tourist. Your whole life is tourism. You just go around like an entitled tourist.
And buy stuff
Yeah.
that makes you feel good about yourself for 10 minutes until you want to go buy some more stuff or go to Disneyland.
And this is where he said the bit about how it fills that void in a fulfilling way. I think that's an important point. The void is still there. So a Lacanian would be like, oh, ideology, see, he thinks that you can fill the void and the objet will be satisfied, the object cause of desire taken care of, the real solution. Well, no, the void's still there. It's just that this is a fulfilling way of filling the void. And that there are other ways of filling the void that are, if not less fulfilling, we can go the next step and say, exacerbate the void. There are ways of trying to fill the void that exacerbate the void, that intensify the objet. And so, just theory terms, the objet is the object cause of desire, and the Lacanian psychoanalytic approach will say that that's caused by the fact that we're in language, and then they turn it into this whole other thing, and it's just like, did you ever think that it's just because your life is plastic, everything you've ever done is fake? Like, you had a fake education, you had fake romance, you had fake sex, you had fake parents, you had you've cut yourself off from all the foundations of life. You're completely alienated, and you embrace that alienation, and you think that that's your freedom. Did you ever think it might just be that?
In the words of Aqua, I'm a Barbie girl in my Barbie world. Life is plastic. It's fantastic, but that's where they get it wrong. It is not fantastic.
It's not. It might be spectacular in the sense of a spectacle, but it's plastic.
Yes.
Plastic spectacle. Lame.
Anyways, let's continue. For decades, government experts and industry gurus preached efficiency. These credentialed pontificators spoke condescendingly about farmers like us who participated in the breeding, growing, processing, marketing, and distribution of what we grew. We were labeled backward and unscientific. Goodness, I've been called a bioterrorist and Typhoid Mary for not vaccinating my livestock. Jeez Louise.
A typhoid what?
Typhoid Mary?
Okay.
I don't know what that reference is.
Sure, yeah, whatever. It's meant
like,
to be bad.
You're bringing on disease, basically.
Right.
Our farm has never purchased an ounce of chemical fertilizer, preferring carbon-based compost instead. For that, I've been excoriated by the conventional agri-industrial complex, accused of wanting to kill half the world through starvation. After all, we all know compost can't compete with chemicals, just like real cows can't compete with lab meat. Today's orthodox narrative parades its agenda as a solution to everything, when in fact it's a trajectory toward fragility, ongoing catastrophes, and ultimately shackling dependence, as well as sickness. Like the fact that we were just talking to Eric Grinstead the other night, talking about, chicken. He is just like, it is just, absurd that these chickens, like, they literally give them bleach baths, like conventional chicken, and you say that and people look at you like, oh, you're one of those people. Oh, you're a conspiracy thing. That's not a conspiracy. That's literally what happens. Or like this meat, yeah, it's giving you some protein, I guess, but like, it's so full of chemicals and vaccines, and then they bleach it and like do all this stuff to it that it's like, it's not really chicken anymore. Anyways.
Yeah, he said that our chicken is hands down the best chicken he's ever had in his entire life.
Whew.
You just taste the difference.
High praise.
And I just have to say, I made the most delicious
my goodness.
chicken ever. All I did was dress it up with like, what was it? Like I put a bunch of our farm grown garlic in a blender with some olive oil, put that all over a bunch of carrots that were chopped up. I put those carrots inside and outside all around this chicken. Put some thyme, rosemary.
There.
Yeah, just like loaded
and we
it
had
up.
like some local, like some spice blend from a vendor at the farmer's market.
It was, and it was just basically Italian seasoning. So it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Just like melt in your mouth. And yeah, I'm getting really excited for a lot more farm chicken, because he's right when he says that people don't know how to they don't know what to do with a whole chicken. I think there's nothing more pathetic than that, but it's also so true. Like me, it's like I didn't know how to cook a turkey until this year.
Right,
I didn't know what to do with a whole chicken until this year.
They rarely sell whole birds at the store. You can get a rotisserie chicken, but that's like pre-cooked, pre-seasoned. All you gotta do is shred it up.
When I went to mom and dad, and I was like, how do I make the chicken taste as good as the rotisserie from the store? Because it's so juicy. And they're like, well, they put stuff in it to make it that juicy. And it's like, okay, sure. But also, here's the deal. Like, you know, they kind of just like, I mean, I don't want to trash on mom and dad, but yeah, their chicken tends to be dry in comparison. And it's not the chickens. It's not the quality of the meat. It's because they like to cook it fast. And so that was the whole thing, was like, we just cooked it for 3 hours.
Low and slow makes everything better. Caramelized onions, low and slow. Roasted garlic, low and slow. Roasted chicken, veggies, low and slow. I mean, okay, veggies are good at a high, like 400 to 450 roasted. Anyways.
Yeah, so long story short, it's about having a hand in the process, and you feel empowered from doing that. I love when Joel defines, is it confidence or character or courage? He talks about it being competence in, what does he say? The achievement of meaningful tasks. He says that it comes from, I think he's saying confidence or courage. It comes from from the achievement of meaningful tasks. Something like that.
That's right. See, I think he was talking about it in relation to like kids.
Yeah, to children. And it's like, so, you know, it's like self-esteem being such a big issue in the school. It's like, yeah, well, of course it's a big issue, because the only reason anyone's good at anything in the school is because they're either good at navigating artificial peer networks and dealing with authority figures through tests and socializing, or, I mean, maybe some other thing, but it's like, that's pretty much it. No one gets to be confident on the basis of having really mastered the foundations of life, or another way of saying it, a litany of achievements, meeting real needs and meaningful tasks.
Right.
So, yeah, I love that approach to self-esteem. It's like, hey, maybe instead of therapy, your kid just needs to like intern at a farm and like learn how to actually do things.
Yeah, learn
things.
a skill, or go volunteer to build, if not a house, go help build a set for the school play. Like, yeah, some sense of like achievement, and you did something real and tangible. It's like, oh yeah, you can be good at reading and writing essays or doing math problems, but for most kids that doesn't really mean anything. Whereas just like the kids that I feel like we meet, some of these families that are involved in the farmers markets, it's like their 8-year-olds are like these little, just like cool, calm, collected, responsible. I mean, I see this one friend at the market, and she's got her little family that comes with her, ranging from like a newborn baby last year to I think an 8-year-old. And the older kids are helping her carry everything, set up her stand, taking turns. You know, the younger girls are caring for the newborn while they set up. We just visited them a few weeks ago, and their like 6-year-old daughter is making bracelets to sell at the market. And she's so excited about it and is like putting all this thought into the colors and, you know, how much are they going to go for? It's like, that's giving her just, it's like a purpose. And she's going to be able to have, you know, $10 at the end of the day and go, I did this.
I
and
made
it's just
this
like,
thing and other people actually wanted it.
It's so wholesome. I love that our local farmers markets, a handful of them, always feature a kid vendor.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're selling like drawings and bracelets, but some of them make soap and sew.
Man, that kid who makes the soap with his brothers and sisters, he's like probably 11, and he's
looks like a little man.
He's just a little man. Also, you know, this is the kind of child that is ideally being cultivated by the homesteading tsunami. So it's like, you know, it doesn't have to come from homesteading. There's other ways that it can come about. Really what we're talking about, like, so I would want to zoom out from homesteading and just say deliberate parent, you know?
Yeah.
But the deliberate parents cultivate, in an ideal world, a kind of kid who's got this cool, calm, collected kind of sense, not for who they are. I think that's the worst therapeutic way to put it.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, who is the child? Shut up. The real question is like, what can the kid do?
Yeah, who has a passion. It doesn't have to be farming or entrepreneurial. It could be theater, music.
Right. And then I wanted to say, like, shout out to that kid. I'm not going to name him.
Yeah.
That I met at Polyface Farms.
My gosh.
You're saying the soap kid was like a little man, but this guy,
10-year-old was a little man.
Yeah, he was like a 40-year-old man in like a little 10-year-old body. He was just like this.
Like had real responsibilities and just was like so cool. He like took pride in having responsibilities. He had a pair of gloves in his back pocket, you know?
Yeah, and there's a big difference between the kind of kid who has real responsibilities and the kind of kid who's just like lives for attention and is a constant suck on the energy of everyone around him because he's just an attention deprived little parasite basically, because it's like, do something, kid. Do something.
And if it's not been cultivated or taught in them, then they just want your attention. They want to talk all the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't come from it's like, I don't think that this is something that comes from just like a classroom. I think it comes from parents having the time and the energy to devote to their children, and so in a regularly repeatable, sustained way. It can't just be a one-off on a weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what deliberate parenting is about, is breaking from that thing where it's like you only really see or spend time with that kid in a real sense every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like you're accomplishing meaningful tasks together at formative stages of their life.
Yeah.
Cop car.
There was like a totaled car, like an accident maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the car was facing our way and the front was...
Oh, really?
So maybe that's because we've just been in traffic jam.
We just got past it.
Pretty much going like 20, 30 on the freeway for a little while.
It's been pretty bad.
Yeah. But we're cruising again and let's keep going.
Rough.
Okay. So yeah, we went off kind of talking about he just talked about that all of this leads toward fragility, ongoing catastrophes, and ultimately shackling dependence. Efficiency, convenience, and segregated labor dominated the food and farm systems. Naysayers laughed. How can you feed the world with pastured poultry? Or how can we maintain fertility with compost? farmers bought into the industrial notion, thinking they could once and for all escape participating in their own fertility program, their own breeding program, their own processing, marketing, and distribution programs. Freed to do one narrow thing, they borrowed money to build confinement animal houses, massive single-purpose equipment, and lines of credit for fertilizer and chemicals to grow crops. What had been a highly integrated farmscape turned into a highly segregated farmscape. This freed the dairy farmer to just milk cows, the chicken farmer to just grow chickens, and the orchardist to just grow apples. Diversification on site was archaic and obsolete. The modern farm resembled a factory more than a living entity. In the name of efficiency, farmers abandoned mundane things like manure management, stockmanship, and garden mulch. Replaced with chemicals, crutches, and convenience, devotion to efficiency seemed to be a winning model. I'll keep this one brief, but it's like in Carl Jaspers, I'm thinking about the way that the university, he highlights that the university became this departmentalized, fragmented thing where everything, that's the same with labor,
Right.
rather than these skilled workers who kind of could do everything on the farm. It's just, okay, now your job is to press this one button, and then your job is to put this in this hole. This was happening all over, taking these workers or industries that had this whole knowledge and could kind of do it all, or even a university system where the fields, everyone was interacting with each other to, oh, you do this one thing. Oh, we just talk about biology here. It's totally removed from all the other fields. We just talk about sociology here. It's totally removed from all the other fields. And then that's how public schooling is. From 1 to 2, we just focus on math, and math is its own thing. It doesn't relate to anything else. And now it's just there's a pattern here.
Right. And people want to act like this specialization and division of labor is all good. And it's there's some things that are good, like ball bearings and computer chips, but it's not all good. What we have are people who have no idea about anything in the world, and an education system that assumes that they don't need to really know anything about it. All they need to do is prove that they can get things done by deadlines and jump through hoops. And it's just disabling.
Yes.
To say it like Illich.
So replaced with chemicals, crutches, and convenience, devotion to efficiency seemed to be a winning model. Until COVID. Until the supply chains fragmented. Until nobody wanted to come to work. Until human resources couldn't sleep at night, fearing a disgruntled employee would sue the company for inadequate health protocols. Centralized mega companies spent billions of dollars in triage, trying to keep doors open, workers happy, and product flowing. That's when sourdough became the #1 Googled recipe. Sourdough became the gateway to freedom. Isn't that the coolest thing? Few people had given any thought to it before. Suddenly, deprived of their consumer convenience and its false freedom, people by the thousands turned to a freedom based on participation. In doing so, they disentangled from the system and found new liberty to do, to try, taste something created by newly empowered hands in newly appreciated kitchens. Overnight, the business holy grail changed from efficiency to resiliency. Businesses realize that if you aren't first resilient, you have nothing to be efficient about. The first goal is survival, and in chaotic, dysfunctional waters, you don't want to be an aircraft carrier, you want to be a speedboat. Being nimble and maneuverable, making adjustments in real time is the key to navigating treacherous shoals. As supply chain issues reverberated throughout the food system, wild price fluctuations developed. Perhaps the biggest one was lumber. By the spring of 2022, lumber was up more than 400%, partly due to centralized mills' inability to keep employees coming to work, and partly due to a wave of home remodeling projects. People stayed home, built that spare bedroom, and fixed that deck with bodies powered by sourdough. Then, as
LOL. Yeah.
you know,
Funny.
then, as if to add insult to injury, Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. Fertilizer prices shot up 400%. Ukraine couldn't ship wheat. Farmers lamenting exploding fertilizer prices filled news coverage. COVID bailouts brought on inflation, and suddenly, Tyson announced a 32% increase in beef prices over 12 months. A lady stood in front of our on-farm meat freezer and caught her breath. "Are you okay? What may I do for you?" I asked her. "Oh, I was just at Costco, and sirloin steak is $16.99 a pound. Yours is only $9.99 a pound," she responded, incredulity and shock etching her face. At that moment, it all hit me. At our farm, we didn't need Russian fertilizer. We made our own compost. We processed our own chickens. We purchased our grain from local farmers, GMO-free, genetically modified organism free. In fact, back in the late 1990s, when GMOs first came in, we couldn't find a GMO-free alternative locally. We found a defunct 1950s on-farm feed mill in Stewart's Draft, a town about 15 miles away. The farmer eagerly brought it out of mothballs and put it to use. Today, Sunrise Farms is the go-to GMO-free mill in the entire Mid-Atlantic region. What had our commitment to integrated farming brought? What had our diligent manure handling through compost brought? What had our dedication to on-farm processing brought? We had our love affair with often tedious direct marketing to neighbors and friends brought. It's all these questions. What had our love affair with often tedious direct marketing to neighbors and friends brought? All that inefficiency? In a word, resiliency. Suddenly, the crisis enveloping the supposedly efficient industry showed its ends: fragility. On our farm, we didn't need to raise prices 32%. More than a decade earlier, we'd invested in the only local federally inspected slaughterhouse when its owners aged out of the business. Communities all over America lost their abattoirs. I've never seen this word before. There you go.
Does it mean like a slaughterhouse? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't know. These small outfits are inefficient, all the Wall Street pundits and industry prophets said. These small plants were obsolete, according to the mainstream narrative. Like many others, it would have closed. We did the inefficient thing and preserved it. Again, this is not a boastful statement. It's an argument for resiliency rather than efficiency as a first goal. Certainly, efficiency is important, but only after resiliency is in place. Hundreds of these small 1960s community processing facilities went out of business as centralization promised economies of scale. Why invest in a small community facility? According to industry speak, it didn't make sense. But then came COVID. Suddenly, our little abattoir, which had for years struggled to keep enough local volume to stay in business, was inundated with requests. People who had never considered selling a beef steer to neighbors had folks knocking on their doors asking for meat. Farmers began calling us by the dozens. "Do you have an available slot for me to bring in a steer?" For the first time in decades, we turned away far more business than we could handle. It was a tsunami. During COVID, our little facility never closed and didn't even slow down. With only 25 employees spread out across numerous workstations, we didn't install plexiglass barriers and lose work days with quarantines. As far as I know, all small facilities like ours had the same experience. While the big boys stumbled and faltered, we kept right on chugging like the little engine that could. Small community-based processing facilities like this offered a functional and resilient counterpart to the mega industrial corporate facilities that exterminated and wasted millions of chickens, turkeys, and hogs. In early 2022, with the war in Ukraine creating havoc in the grain and fertilizer sectors, our farm went through almost unscathed. Yes, we raised prices to accommodate inflation, but that wasn't anywhere near 32%. As I contemplated the sirloin steak story and all that was going on, I realized that our participation in what most farmers had abandoned actually freed us to survive and thrive during this dysfunctional time. Our farm had been accused of being elitist with our prices. Now suddenly we were the most affordable place. Indeed, in the spring of 2020, we sold 6 months worth of inventory in about 6 weeks. What a crazy time. As the aircraft carriers tried to adapt to turn, our little speedboat kept right on going. The small abattoir, the small feed mill, and our carbon-based fertility program. During this time, I received several phone calls from billionaires. That's not a typo. Yes, billionaires asking, how do I create an agrarian bunker for my family? To be fair, the phrase agrarian bunker is my translation. They used phrases like safe place and personal refuge. I knew what they meant. These were people who had private jets. They could go anywhere in the world, and they called me for an exit plan. Or one even asked what wheels fall off meant to me. I discussed it with our farm team, and we decided it meant you couldn't get fuel, electricity, or grain. While certainly other things could describe wheels falling off, we opted for those 3 key elements. When we realized that things are usually not as bad as you can, then we realized that things are usually not as bad as you can imagine. One of the exercises for resilience is to imagine the worst case scenario, then work your way back from there. As we analyzed our vulnerabilities, we realized that although we were not bulletproof, we would be the last guy standing. That position holds an optimistic promise because you always hope that by the time you're the last guy standing, someone will step up and figure out some solutions to the crisis. Washington drivers are the actual worst.
Right.
You heard it here
crazy.
first.
They're pretty bad.
They're like, people on the West Coast will complain about California drivers, but every time I'm in Washington, it is just like bad, unsafe, selfish, inconsiderate driving.
Yeah, like their highway patrol bring in so much money for local programs
Right,
by just giving reckless driving tickets.
Yeah. They can hand it out like candy here.
Candy.
I just needed the record to reflect that. That is a true statement.
I think
So
like
Californians, you're off the hook. It's Washington.
going back to fantasy politics, I just think, like Anne with like a stormtrooper helmet and a hovercraft, and she just like rolls up on people. Ticket.
There is
She's just slapping tickets on windshields, just flying over. Blah 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 blah. Ticket.
There is an alternate timeline where I am like highway patrol, but I'm like the chief highway patrol or like the chief. I'm even the town sheriff, and I'm just like, we are going to police the heck out of reckless driving, this rapid lane changing with no
turn
signal. Because what just happened was a guy just like changed lanes in the middle of an intersection, which in Nevada, that's totally illegal. That's where I got my license.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. And I would just like crack down so hard for 6 months to a year to where people would just be like, they would just drive safe. I would just park. After that, I just park empty highway patrol cars all over town or put those little flashing light things so people instantly go, oh my God, I'm going to get pulled over. I better just drive safe. And then my last little thing, in the same way that you have your little fantasy, my real fantasy, which is why no one should give me political power. That's total fantasy. I wouldn't actually do it, but is like self-policing cars. It's like you've got a 5-strike system, and once you're done, your car won't start, and you have to go retake a driving course or something, because I just got traumatized a little bit in driver's ed by only really watching documentaries about tragic car accidents. And I had a handful of years of my life where every time like my dad came home late for work or someone that I loved didn't answer the phone, I would like flip out and be like, oh my God, they died in a car accident. That's why they're not answering me.
Yeah, we just spent all this time in like bad traffic based on someone, once again, driving like an idiot, and they were wrecked, and eventually someone died, and it's just like,
It's
For what?
preventable.
for what, people? For what? Anyway, okay.
So anyways, that's our little driving musings for this drive.
It relates somehow.
Somehow.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Okay. By late 2021, a steady stream of RVs, recreational vehicles, came by our farm, piloted by families from New York, California, and other states looking for an agrarian bunker. COVID offered some positive developments for our country. One was accelerating the home office, reducing the in-person workplace and daily commute. Another was parents seeing what their children were being taught in school. And another was a renewed interest in food, rural location, and health. The one thing you don't want to be when the wheels fall off is sick. Urban allure wanes quickly during a crisis. Intuitively, people realize that the city is not the place to be when the wheels fall off. Going to a place where we can see the stars at night, where we can collect rainwater, poop in an outhouse, grow our own vegetables, and have a flock of egg layers attracts folks to feel trapped by asphalt and technology. Urban living promotes places to go and parties to attend. Where you actually live is only a pit stop in life's race.
Straight up.
But what if it's scary out there? What if nothing to sustain life exists out there? Stoplights and asphalt don't grow tomatoes. That realization drove billionaires to seek a place with soil, grass, water, things divinely placed in order to beyond the grasp of humankind.
I like how he's not telling you who the billionaires are. And I'm over here like, who is it?
I
And it's not Bill Gates. It's probably Peter Thiel.
Joel.
Joel, tell me, is it Elon Musk? Uh-oh. There's a cop car coming behind us. We got to get over. Uh-oh. I'll get over as soon as this car gets out of the way. Okay. All right. They're not coming for us. That's the good news, folks.
As a culture, we've spent decades abandoning the country, abandoning our kitchens, and abandoning connected provenance, only to find that the promised land of freedom is a self-inflicted enslavement to dubious agendas and fragile supply lines. We've chased a mirage in our thirst for freedom from chores, gardens, and kitchens. We've arrived at what we thought would grant ultimate liberty, only to find ourselves utterly dependent and shackled. On our farm, we've built numerous ponds that grace the landscape with caressing, riparian zones, providing habitat for copious numbers of frogs. Walking quietly and stealthily along a pond edge, you can often see the frogs before they make their protective jump into deeper water. I've never had a frog turn on me and say, I'm not going to participate today. I'm just going to sit here and let the flies go by. I'm going to check out for the day. No, these frogs stay on point. Every single day, they wake up and participate, just like everything else in nature.
There's not a single day where our cats or puppy doesn't want to go out on the farm. There are days
For
where
real.
they're more lazy than other days.
On a cold day, yeah. Or they're
but they
extra
still want to
tired.
go out.
Yeah.
They still want to go out, and it's just humans. We're so easy to denature. We're so easy to reprogram. We're so easy to cloister and remove from what he's calling participation.
Yeah. The leaves don't quit collecting sunbeams. The hawks don't quit looking for field mice. The buzzards don't quit looking for a carcass to clean up. The bees don't quit looking for flowers. All of these things seem mundane. After all, look at all the flowers. Who cares if one doesn't get pollinated? Look at all the sunshine. Who cares if some rays hit the soil instead of green leaves? And to the buzzard, how about eating something else? Aren't you tired of carrion? Good grief. But true freedom and functional thriving grow in mundane participation. It is in the milk cow, the fresh garden tomatoes, the hanging herb garden on the patio, the chickens devouring kitchen scraps, and generously providing eggs for the family table. In the last couple of years, I've realized that all the things that credentialed experts told us would bring freedom and happiness have actually enslaved us to a system. And it's not a benevolent system. Look at the agenda of the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates. They say half the world needs to be exterminated in order for humanity to survive. Food needs to come from centralized billion-dollar laboratories, not your backyard or pasture. What can people who truly believe this morally and ethically justify on their way to saving humanity? Could anything be more dystopian? That is why more and more I hear people asking, how do I disentangle? How can I build a parallel universe when the one being built for me seems completely out of whack? They feel trapped by the supermarket, trapped by the public school, trapped by their bank account, trapped by their investment program, trapped by their doctor, trapped by family and friend expectations, trapped by society's definition of success. The recipe for freedom, for disentanglement, is not floating off into fantasy land where other people do the dirty work and think about how to get eggs on the table. The true recipe for freedom requires us to roll up our sleeves, engage, and participate in life's most basic and mundane tasks. Washing the dirty clothes, cleaning the toilet, butchering chickens, churning butter, cutting firewood, picking apples, canning applesauce. Yes, those homestead skills from a bygone era that created self-reliance and resiliency, that enabled people to live free from interference, that created liberty by embracing personal responsibility. Doug Casey, quintessential libertarian and self-made millionaire, blogged that the best hurricane shelter in a societal storm is a farm. Perhaps homesteads are the ultimate cultural hurricane-safe place. Being free from the swirling chaos outside, snuggled with our family amidst gardens, orchards, cows, and chickens, is the ultimate why of homesteading. Revolutionary lifestyles create the path to freedom. Others can't do it for us. Although a lot can and should be done within the confines of the urban sector, nothing beats having a patch of land. Never have Americans had more opportunity or...
Oh,
what
shit.
the heck?
So that cop car that we had to pull over for, it's up ahead of us, so we're gonna come to a complete stop.
There's like a truck?
This
off the
big
road?
truck is blocking the road.
Oh, snap. They're having us go like around
It.
like through a parking lot.
Yeah, I think we get to go through a
Well,
parking
I'm
lot
gonna
to get around
really
it.
quick finish this I'm on the last paragraph of this chapter.
Yeah, go for it.
Revolutionary lifestyles create the path to freedom. Others can't do it for us. Although a lot can and should be done within the confines of the urban sector, nothing beats having a patch of land, except I have to look for just a second, you guys. Are they making us park or are we going around?
Oh, are they just having us flip a U-Haul? Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
But anyways, I'll finish this and then Dave and I might have to pause and
Figure it out.
out what's going on here. Never have Americans had more opportunity or necessity to make the leap. For most of us, what holds us back is not financial or logistical ability, it's conviction. It's the why. Once we settle the why, everything falls into place. I've just articulated the real-time physical and cultural affirmation of a homestead mentality. Let's get on with it. And
All right.
That's chapter 1. I like his writing. I really quite enjoy it.
Yeah, like when you hear a person who's a great speaker, it's always kind of like, whoa, when you read them and they're a great writer too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes you hear a person, they're not a great speaker, but they are a great writer.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you hear a great writer, awful speaker.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool when it's both, you know?
And he's like an epic farmer too. Like he's
not just an English major.
He's a cool guy. Yeah.
Like he was an English major.
Yeah.
So he's the English major who went and like did something.
Yeah.
You know?
Straight up.
Now, I don't know. I guess I want to start with like, I want to hear your thoughts. I got stuff I'll say. And then, you know, I don't want this to be a super long episode. And I definitely want to hit on a couple of the things that we wanted to touch on. Hope the listeners aren't too bothered by the squeaky window shield wipers, or the turn signal noise. And by the way, we did get a crack on the windshield. We don't know where that came from.
Oh my gosh, I heard it. I heard a rock hit the windshield, and it's dark now, so we couldn't see. And then we just got gas, and I'm like, oh, there's a crack in the windshield. So that's fun.
Cool. So anyway, yeah, thoughts so far.
Thoughts. Like, I feel like in the last year, there's just been a handful of things that I've listened to or read, whether it be Substack articles or chapters of books or entire books or podcasts, that I'm just like, everyone I know needs to listen to this. And that's how I feel about this chapter. Like, even if, we had a couple things where we would have added on, maybe like the one line about, removing the 10 Commandments. But other than that, it's like, this is an incredibly compelling, well-written case for, even if you're not going to turn to homesteading, why it matters and why we should be supporting small farmers, community-based agriculture and suppliers, farmers markets, and like uplifting homesteading families rather than just writing them off as, some crazy conservative conspiracy theorists wanting to live off the grid, or as like people in our former sociology department literally were flagging people who want to live off grid as white supremacists. Like it's some white supremacist dog whistle to want to be self-reliant and resilient.
They're like what I think now to refer to as either Doritos socialists or Cheeto dust socialists. Right. If I want to use a food, reference. Otherwise, I'll say they are Disneyland socialists. But like the idea is like these people like live in a plastic world. They believe the institutions are more or less on their side, and that the interests of the global urban monoculture are their own interests. Yeah. And it's just like you live in, they would admit there's problems with the food system. They just say it's all capitalism's fault. But they don't believe that people need to fundamentally change their lives. Now they're thinking you need to vote or go protest. And it's their whole worldview is based around voting, or if they're more radical, than protesting and supporting people who riot, because they think it just needs to be burned down. It's just an incredibly cringe thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we've officially gone way around. We did this huge going around the block thing. And please tell me we can take a left here. Please tell me.
There's cars coming from that direction, so
please tell me we can take a left here.
We will find.
If we can't.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that police car is just blocking people from going on this stretch where the truck is.
Left turn must yield. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm yielding. We just can't go right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've officially gone around it.
Cool.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I think it is. This car is also turning. It's just a great well-written case where he hits on so many things that, again, it's why it's like, oh yeah, because everyone needs to know that this is happening and everyone needs this reminder. And yeah, the post-COVID reflections, because we had asked in the first, or I think at the beginning, you were saying you're curious, is he thinking about, oh, when Schumer hits the fan type of future? And it's like, well, COVID wasn't total nuclear meltdown or whatever, but it was pretty bad. Like stores, yeah, just everything he talked about, and the fact that they didn't have to change their beef prices. They were eating chicken pot pie and applesauce, and just like nothing fundamentally changed for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I really appreciate this chapter, and just the things that it even reminded me of. It's like it kind of reminded me of the why I care about this lifestyle, why I'm excited to bring a child into this farm. Like I'm excited. It re-motivated me. It's like, yeah, that's right. This is so important.
Yeah, we're doing something epic. That's like the part that it's easy to forget. Now, really quick, could you just read me the table of contents? I want to know what the other chapters are called.
It's you.
So we've got Get in the Game, I See a Homesteader, Filling Our Plates, Ready for the Table, Stashing and Stockpiling, Sweating Together, I Like Me, Bright-Eyed Bushy-Tailed Kids, Buff, the Homestead Physique, Welcome to the Real World, More Than Money, Get Dirty, Growing Groceries, Nose Stuff, Pretty Panorama, Let the Good Times Roll, Better Than Wall Street, Finding Friends, It'll Be Okay, The Wrap, and then Gonna Homestead instead, maybe like a afterword or something, and the index.
Cool. I instantly want to read the Bright-Eyed and Bushy-Tailed Kids.
I know, right?
Like, that sounds like a really fun chapter.
Yeah.
So I think it helps me with the why. What I would really like is if he doesn't do it, then I'll have to do it. But it's like the quality of life thing. I think he's getting to it. But like I said, with like unestranged labor, like unalienated labor, with having your hand in the process, we're talking about something that goes. I guess I want to go deeper into participation and what it means.
Yeah.
But then what I really want is to bridge into education. I feel like his education mission in life is really just like, hey, we can feed the world this way, and this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great education mission, and I have a general education mission. His is specific, mine is general. I see what he's doing as part of the liberal arts, and like an under-hyped, neglected part of the liberating arts. But it's like the bridge between the other liberating arts, philosophy, science, math, etc., and then like this kind of homesteading life. That's what I want to dig into more.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately what the philosophy of stewardship and home economics at Theory Underground, as well as Canon, the liberal arts trading card game that I've been developing over the last 220 days. Like that is what that is all about.
Yeah. But we got to pause again because we're about to cross the border into Canada.
Yeah, we're coming up on customs, baby. Be right back. Are we back?
I think we're back.
All right, so we just got through. We are officially in
Canada,
British Columbia. And so we're pretty close to our destination at this point. Anne's going to ground us with a quote that we read while sitting there at the border. It's by the author of the Foreword,
whose name is Amy Fewell.
Excuse us if
sorry, Amy. So she says, get the middle here. The broad path tells us to just settle for mediocre food from chemically washed and injected produce and meat. It tells you that the normal is setting your kids in front of a screen all evening after they get home from being taught to sit in front of a teacher all day. The normal is not being inconvenienced. The normal is not knowing anything about sustainable living because someone will take care of you. But the narrow path, well, that's quite different.
The narrow path is quite different. And so that's what we're here to learn about. Anything else we want to touch on here before we close it out?
Yeah, I think reading this book and kind of being grounded into like this homestead lifestyle, I think it's in terms of like the updates that we alluded to and that we mentioned in the previous episode, living on the farm and like the changes that have come with that, having kids. It's like we're kind of heading in this homestead direction, but it's a lot maybe more. Well, you can, go into it, like Theory Underground and kind of what's developing there, and Canon, TCG, how that relates to kind of the life that we want our kids and ourselves and our friends and family to live is like homesteading plus.
Yeah.
So maybe you can kind of go into, what's going on at Theory Underground? What is this super secret project that has now officially been revealed to the public? How does it relate back to homesteading and deliberate living and stewardship?
Yeah, I like how you say homesteading plus. I just think of it as deliberate living. Another way I think about it is, because of the fact that I was living in the city and putting off the desire to sink roots into some real soil and actually build on some property, and I've been putting it off for a while outside of my attempt to, with Victory Farm Circle Humanities or Turtle Island Research Cooperative, do that. I was just overdosing on critical theory pills without wholesome theory, what we're calling wholesome theory, which we're really kickstarting with the philosophy of stewardship and home economics course, which is based in Xenophon's Oikonomicus, which is a Socratic dialogue where Socrates talks about how farming is arguably the most important thing that you can do. He uses the example of Cyrus, the Persian king, who would either do war games or planting, farming, working in his orchard, working up a sweat, working the earth and making food before dinner every day. And that idea of staying grounded in the physical arts and in actually caring for our food was, I think, a really big intuition for me, obviously having grown up out there. As a kid, though, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Homesteading wasn't enough. Most kids who grow up on homesteads move into the city. I think that Joel Salatin's approach is awesome, and I really love, everything he's saying here. But, the part that I want to add, the plus, is the thing that I think makes life worth living beyond the foundations. Or maybe it's just an expanded definition of the foundations, and it has to do with being able to sink roots into deeper soil than just literal. It's this physical and figurative soil of culture that we can embody, and that it's all about. That's what the humanities and the liberal arts are all about. And when people hear liberal arts, they think of liberals, but it's like, that's ridiculous. Of course, now some people know this means liberating arts, and these are these include science and math. But of course, science and math within a historical and philosophical context. And so, how do we regain base canon literacy? This has been a really big thing for me. And so if we've been overdosing on critical theory pills
and not grounded in nature and nurturing natality, or the broader liberal arts canon, well, then how do we counter that? And so for me, the big way that we counter that is, first of all, by changing how we live. Second of all, by taking a more deliberate, active, and lifelong learning relationship towards classic texts, including the texts for how to deconstruct and interpret those. But you can't deconstruct and interpret what you don't know and what you aren't reading. And you can argue that there's newer texts that are more authoritative or canonical than these older ones. Sure, but you can't really argue that if you haven't read those older ones. And, you know, I am kind of over the idea that we'll ever go back to, you know, some people sitting and turning pages and reading as a lifestyle, whereas everyone else does the work. I am post division of labor. I am pro generalization and multitasking and multi-potentialite-ing, or whatever you want to call it. And so like my vision, our vision for the good life here is one where it's intergenerational and there's a lot more audio-based learning. There's a lot more music. There's writing, there's speaking, there's music, there's planting, there's harvesting, and there's just like a more holistic and wholesome form of life. And if that's not the world that we're fighting for, then what are we even doing? And so, you know, I think that we can't wait for other people to solve the problems of the world, and that no amount of voting or protesting or rioting or burning anything down is ever going to solve anything if what we don't have at center is a rich and tactile lived experience of a better life. And I think that we can offer people that window into a different way of being in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything that you'd want to add about canon as the father of this project. Yeah.
Yes, as the father of canon.
I'm the mother.
CCG.
You know. Meaning I do the labor, but she, you know, she was there at conception. So.
And now that the baby's born, quote unquote, I'll help raise it, I guess.
She'll rock it on her knee from time to time and give it service.
Yeah.
That's what playtesting is all about. And we're on our way to go playtest right now, actually.
Anyways, Jesus.
Me too.
What are we talking about? Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, I almost... okay, everyone. You know, stuff happens off of the screen, so to speak. You don't see what happens. But let's just say my lane ended quickly, and I did not want to get off of that freeway, so I had to kind of cut over a line. Nothing like a median or anything crazy.
No,
but anyway, back to... Yeah, canon, father.
Yes. Yeah, canon is a way to, like the way that you've talked about it, it's a way to bring like some sense of, if not literacy, that's like bookish. On the one hand, like a bookishness, I think this Illichian sense kind of into our lives and the people in our lives. And it's a kind of more tactile, fun, not just textbook lecture way to get grounded in the philosophical, historical, theoretical, literary, theological, blah, blah, blah.
Scientific, mathematical,
in the people and the thinkers and their texts, to be rooted in that, to have for our kids and their homeschool friends and homeschool parents and us to have like a tactile trading card that has the faces of Saint Thomas Aquinas and Martin Heidegger and
Karl Marx,
Booker T. Washington, and all these figures of history and their texts, like the texts that they have contributed to humanity, for that to become just part of life, something that they being our kids, they being our friends, and other homeschool parents, and we will just like look forward to kind of playfully, non-seriously incorporate into our conversations and our leisurely evenings. Like, oh, hey, we're going to play around a cannon tonight. And the next thing you know, we've just been reminded of these texts. And maybe one day we'll read these texts or we'll learn about these people. Or if we have a kid who's really into math, they'll be super into, like, we've got a nephew who's like a math whiz and he got really excited about the Einstein cards. I think he was Einstein for Halloween last year, you know? So even if he's not latching on to some difficult philosopher, but he's like stoked about Einstein.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's, I think, just another way that we're thinking about homeschool or how we want to educate our children, but then also how we want to continue our own lifelong learning and education. Like we're not gonna participate in the mainstream education systems in the same way Joel Salatin's like, yeah, people realized our food system is broken. They want to leave. They want to do something else. And so that's kind of what we're doing.
We experienced that at college.
Canon. But then there's also these theory underground courses that are contributing to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
This lifelong education and kind of grounding us.
Well, we're training up a boot camp of lecture. I mean, we've got a lecture boot camp, and we've also got a writing cohort and a publishing cohort. And, you know, out of that, we're going to get a bunch of canon masters in the making, people who will be able to give lectures on the cards in the game to onboard people in their lives. And, you know, those isolated parents who want to stay inspired for these bigger ideas so that they can remember why they do what they do. Why even care about education? Is it just so the kid can get a job, or do you want your kid to be activated and in dialogue with, you know, history's greats and be able to actually adjudicate on who was great? And so, yeah, that's what we're all about. We're going to close this thing out. So this was part 2 of this drive of the parts that we wanted to record for the drive. A lot happened outside of the recording, and but it's been an adventure, and we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm so ready to not be sitting.
Oh my gosh.
On my butt. This baby is excited to not be in the body that is sitting.
I feel like I've been sitting at an office
for real.
chair all day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think we're almost there. So heck yeah. I read a little bit more of the Homestead Tsunami while we were waiting at the border, and I really like his writing. It's really compelling, and I'm excited to keep going.
Yeah, he gives us a way of thinking and talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
Getting excited about it.
That we then get to sort of take back to all of the stuff that we study.
Right.
So with that, we're going to close out. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Beep, boop, boop.
Pop, pop. Yeah, we're like literally there.
We're there.